Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 5, text number 2, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Nisharasa Karabhavo.
Nisharasa Karabhavo.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Nisharasa Karabhavo.
Nisharasa Karabhavo.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Nishriyasa Karabhavo.
Nisharasa Karabhavo.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasa.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Sannyasya Karma Yogascha.
Nishriyasa Karabhavo.
Nishayasa Karabhavo.
Karma Sannyasa.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Karma Yoga Vishishate.
Karma Yoga Vishishate. Ladies.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Sanya Karma Yogascha.
Sannyasa Karma Yogascha.
Nishriyasa Karabhavo.
Nishayasa Karabhavo.
Rajostu Karma Sannyasat.
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat.
Karma Yoga Vishishyate.
Karma Yoga Vishishate. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
The personality of Godhead said,
The personality of Godhead said,
Sannyasa,
Sannyasa,
renunciation of work,
renunciation of work,
Karma Yoga,
Karma Yoga,
work and devotion,
work of devotion,
Cha, also, Nishayasa Karo,
Nishriyasa Karo,
leading to the path of liberation,
leading to the path of liberation,
Ubao, both, Tayo,
Tayo,
of the two,
of the
two, but Karma Sannyasat,
Karma Sannyasa,
in comparison to the renunciation of fruit of work,
in comparison to the renunciation of work,
Karma Yoga,
Karma Yoga,
work and devotion,
work of devotion,
Vishishate,
Vishishate,
is better.
is better.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Personality of God had replied, the renunciation of work and work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work and devotional service is better than the renunciation of work. Please repeat. The personality of God had replied,
The personality of Godhead replied,
the renunciation of work and work and devotion
the renunciation of work and work and devotion
are both good for liberation.
are both for liberation.
But of the two, work and devotional service is better
Work and devotional service is better
than renunciation of work.
than renunciation of work.
Purport. Fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are the causes of material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.4-6 confirms this as follows. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma it indriya pritya aprinoti desado manye yata atmanoyam asanapi kleshada ashadeha parabhavastavaboda jato yavana dignasita atmatatvam yavakriyastavaditam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandhaha evamana karma visham pranyunkte avidyatman yupadiyamane pritirna yavan maide vasudeve namuchite deha yogena tadvat. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is the result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. As long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then one can have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. Therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body, but spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness, however, is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape from the results of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails the risk of falling. Renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Papanchi kataya budya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshubi parityago vairagyam palgu katyate. When a person is eager to achieve liberation, renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be employed in the service of Krishna. This perfect form of action, Krishna consciousness, is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school. Shri Bhagavad-gita sannyasa karma yogascha nisharasa karabhavo tayusta karma sannyasat karma yoga vashishite. Personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than the renunciation of work. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskadyade Satarne. Krishna is speaking the Bhagavad-gita to free us, or free Arjuna, which means us, from ignorance. Now, generally speaking, one is considered to be learned if they have degrees in a college or university, or they're a philosopher. But actually a learned person, well, the materialistic learned person is matrivat paradareshu, paradvareshu lostravat, atmavat sarvabhuteshu, yak pashyati sapanditaha. Learning begins with understanding matrivat paradareshu. One should see every lady, except for one's own wife, is to be like one's mother. And conversely, a woman should see every man except for her husband to be just like her son. Otherwise it would be quite incompatible. And paradvareshu losrava. Everyone else's property is like garbage in the street. And atmavat sarvabhuteshu, that all living entities as spiritual beings, just like we are. That's considered to be a pandit. So that's on the material platform. And on the spiritual platforms, Bhaktaram, what's that? Yeah, Bhaktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvamam Shantim Rishite. So corresponding to Matrivat Paradareshu is Bhaktaram Jagnatapasam. It's kind of reverse. Actually, it's Matrivat Paradareshu, Paradvareshu Losrava. So the first thing actually is to understand that everything here is Krishna's property. So Bhaktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So that's corresponding to Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. That everything here belongs to Krishna. And it's belonging to Krishna because he's controlling everything, whatever is going on. Of course, then the question is, what is our position? Our position is that we have the capacity to desire. Whether we desire in terms of our material consciousness or in terms of our spiritual identity, that depends upon our knowledge. So ignorance is primarily in the Bali concept of life, that we are this body, we are the doers, we're the controllers. That's the basic principle of material life. If you don't have a body, like if you have a ghost body, then it's very hard to think that you're the proprietor of anything, because wherever you put your hand in, it goes right through. People can give you a big donation, but you can't hold on to it. So it's very hard to think yourself to be proprietor of anything. But with this body, someone puts something, just like a baby, puts something in its hand, immediately closes. And it's my finger. No. It's mine. So we're all a little bit like the baby. You put something in someone's hand. That's why in book distribution, the first thing is you put the book in the hand, let it settle there for a while. The hand closes around it. It feels comfortable. Especially if they like the cover or a picture, it's mine. You giving it to me? Well, everyone gets a book with it along with, if they give a donation, we give them a book. have any money. No problem, just anything, just give anything. I don't have anything. No, just check your wallet. They open the wallet, there's €100, euros, 100 euros, 50 euros, 20 euros. They're searching. They don't have anything. Finally, they get down to a 5, and they're trying to figure out if I should give them change at the 5. Sticky, we call that sticky fingers. As soon as they pick up the bill, they hand it to you, you're struggling to get it.
It's not their money.
What's that?
It's not their money, it's 100.
Yeah.
For someone else.
So this idea that we're the proprietor is quite strong in our consciousness. And that's all depending upon our having a certain body. If we were in someone else's body, we wouldn't really care about what this body had. Because we're in this body, we care about what this body has. If you're driving in someone else's car, and they have an accident, and the person screams out, gets out of the car, "You hit me!" You're unaffected, you're aloof. That's all right, calm down. Because it's not your car. You don't care about it. And then the next thing is Matrivat Paradareshu, to think every lady except for one's wife to be like one's mother. So this is this idea that we're the Bhoktaram, we're the enjoyer in the material world. And Atmavat Sarvabhuteshu, so this corresponds to Suridam Sarvabhuteshu, that Krishna is the friend of everyone. In the material concept of life, we're the friend of no one. We have business deals we make with people, but they're not our friend, because if we get the short end, they say, of the business deal, then they become our enemy. When Christmas comes, we have to buy presents for everyone. We look up the list. What did they give me last year? How much did it cost? What did I give them? How much profit did I make in Christmas? What did Santa Claus give me? So to actually become the friend, to see every living entity, this is called liberation. This is achieved through the process of karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga, etc. This is the indirect process to obtain liberation. This is part of the Varnashram system of going from a Shudra to a Vaishya to a Kshatriya to a Brahmin, and then achieving liberation like the 4 Kumaras. That's liberation is achieved indirectly. The first two, the Shudra and the Vaishya, engage in karma yoga. And the Jnani and the Jignasu are engaged in Jnana yoga. And after that, the yogis, Astanga yoga, and then meditation on the super soul, till they become liberated from the material concept of life. So one is towards liberation, and the other is transcendental devotional service, which eventually brings one to the platform of Nishta. That is steady devotion. Mam jayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So one who's engaged in pure devotional service and failing in all circumstances at once transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman. So how do we know if we're liberated? Well, if we don't know if we're liberated or not, we're not liberated. It's pretty simple. But there's a big process. It's a very long process, and there's different stages. So we can see: are we working at this moment on the karma yoga platform. Hopefully it's not the B karma platform. Sinful activity. No, we're engaged in devotional service. Where is my consciousness? What am I expecting? What do I want? Do I want some physical remuneration? Or do I want some subtle remuneration? That I'm somehow or another recognized by others and appreciated. So we may imagine that we're great devotees, we're a Maharati, we're distributing so many books, we're engaged in so many important activities in devotional service. At first I was just a bhakta, and I did all the dirty work in the temple. So I was praying to Krishna, please, give me some higher service. And then they made me the temple commander, and I was ordering all the other bhaktas around. And then finally I got initiated, and I was above the material modes. And then second initiation, I was in Brahman. I was pure. I don't know what happened to my spiritual master, but at least I became pure. Then, finally, I became the president. And I knew I was on a track for perfection. And then after that, zonal supervisor, GBC, guru, Shaktivesh avatar, and partial incarnation. I was aiming for full, but that may take a little while. But my consciousness is still, I think I'm going up and up and up and up. I'm making some progress towards some goal. And of course, it's just like that tale of Sisyphus, who was putting the rock up he was in a hole and he had a big boulder, he had to push up a rock to throw the rock out of the hole, and then maybe he could get out. But as soon as he struggled for so many thousands of years to get the rock up, and finally when he was just about to push it out of the hole, it would fall back in. It's total all over again. So that's material life. Pushing the rock up, I'm almost there, a little bit more, starting all over again. Therefore, we should see the difference between liberation, which in Prabhupada's books is talked about as Shraddha, or it's talked about Uttama Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Kanishta Adhikari. So, we usually hear that, we think, well, I'm an Uttama Adhikari. There are no Uttama Adhikaris. But Uttama is not a classification of spiritual advancement, by the way. It just means the topmost of something. You can be an Uttama butterfly collector. You're the topmost butterfly collector. So you tell someone, I'm an Uttama Adhikari. Really? Yep, I got the biggest butterfly collection in the world. And Madhyama simply means the middle, and Kanishta means a beginner. So Uttama Adhikari in the path of liberation, and liberation is the qualification before we take up actual devotional service. Right now, if we're disappointed with devotional service that we're rendering, it's because we're not rendering devotional service. That's why we're disappointed with devotional service, because that's not what we're doing. We're practicing so we can come to the platform, even for a moment. In other words, it's not like devotional service is like so far away that it's, devotional service will begin when I can finally get into the rocket ship and see Vaikuntha. arrive at Vaikuntha. No, it could be a moment. In any moment we could be in pure devotional service if we concentrate on it. Therefore it says that by chanting Hare Krišna and by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-gita, or by worshipping the deities, or by serving the devotees, or by making the atmosphere spiritual, especially our consciousness, then in one moment we can experience ecstasy. And ecstasy is the platform where the heart actually becomes practically purified. When Krishna talks about the fire of devotional service, he doesn't talk about a spark. He talks about a real fire. We get a little spark, we think we're in ecstasy. But actually he's talking about a real fire of devotional service. Yataidam so samrido ganira bhasmat sakruterjana yanagni sara karmani bhasmat sakrute tata. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, so does the fire of material of Krishna consciousness, of knowledge, burn to ashes all the reactions to our previous activities. So when we come to the platform, when we're actually concentrating our minds upon Krishna, not like when the devotees first came to devotional service and they were trying to chant their rounds and pay attention. You see sometimes devotees against the wall when they're chanting japa and they're hitting the head against the wall. So to pay attention. Same thing people do in an insane asylum. That's why they put a football, some kind of helmet on. Hitting the head against the wall. So people walk into the temple in the morning when devotees are chanting japa, bang, bang. Wow, I'm getting out of here. These people are strange, but that's not what we mean by paying attention. There are more simple ways of doing it. So that may take some practice and conviction and experience, but that's especially why, for instance, when they have these kirtan, what do they call those? Kirtan, when the kirtan melos or kirtan mela. Because after 3 hours, finally the mind gives in, all right? I guess I'm here for 3 hours. Might as well listen to what's going on. Wow, this really works. But in the beginning, there's karma yoga. So in karma yoga, we're just trying to give up the idea that I have to get the result, what the results are going to be. And that's the main agitation of the mind. We're hankering for what we don't have. So people are working hard to get something in the material world. Everyone is working to achieve something, some remuneration. That if someone doesn't pay us for, if you have a job, you say, I love my job. And then the boss says, well, I guess I don't have to pay you, you're in love with the job. It's devotional. No, I need some salary. So that we want something in return. So our mind is not in the job as much as we are in what we're going to get from it. So it's very hard to think about, to be in Brahman at the same time hankering after something material. And then when we get what we wanted, we lose it and then we lament. So these two things, because it's impossible to keep anything for very long in the material world. Even our body we have to give up. Could you imagine, I guess we could imagine, how much lamentation there is when you have to leave your body? if we lose our wallet, how much lamentation there is. We can't sleep that night. We're looking at everyone as if they were the thief. Checking everyone's back pocket, see if it's mine. And what to speak when we have to give up our body? How much lamentation is there going to be? Wait a second. I'm too young to die. Well, you're 120. It's still, I feel young. So there's hankering, lamentation. These are two enemies in the material world. Hankering for something material and lamenting over something material, because hankering is eternal. In the spiritual world, people are hankering for Krishna and lamenting that he's not there. So hankering and lamentation are eternally part of our existence. The question is what we're hankering for and what we're lamenting about. So Shudras are the ones who are lamenting. Mainly because they performed so many sinful activities in the past, they're suffering. And they're lamenting over their unfortunate position that comes from not following the principles very strictly. And then when they graduate, then they hanker. So that's the Vaishya. They want some profit. Some cows. Of course, they want cows. They want some milk products. They want some nice food. They want a nice atmosphere, fresh air. They want fresh water. They know what happiness is. And that's what they're hankering for. A real Vaishnava is not one who goes and plays the stock market and just collects money and puts it in the bank. And Prabhupada said, he opens his bank account and licks it. He doesn't really utilize the money, but he appreciates that he has it. But real Vaishnava is one who works in the material world to create a nice atmosphere here for enjoyment. And that atmosphere has to be fresh air. It has to be clean water. It has to be nice food. It has to be above everything, loving relationships with others. At least peaceful relationships with others. Otherwise, how can one be happy if one is in a state of fear and anxiety? It's the same thing as a person is about to be executed for some crime he committed, and they give him a pizza party for his send-off. We hate to see you go, but we brought you some pizza. It's the kind we know you like. Most prisoners, I'd imagine, they probably lose their appetite. You better eat it before it gets cold. Because, you better eat it before you don't you have the chance. But they're not so excited about it that particular time. It's like that analogy I use, you're on the plane, and they're serving at a big feast, you're really in ecstasy, and then you notice the plane is going down. And your appetite goes down with the plane. So but the Vaishyas know what real happiness is in the material world. There's nothing higher than loving relationships, clean water, etc., etc. Family life, for instance. Real family life. Where everyone was working for the same objective, which is not to send my children to college to get a degree so eventually they can get a good job and then they can support me in old age. That's absurd. And in the meantime, we're creating things that we can't breathe the air, we can't drink the water, we can't eat the food, we hate each other, we're envious. And we're looking forward to old age where someone will support my old body. So real knowledge is, at least the Vaishyas have enough intelligence to know they're going to trade, but they trade milk products, the best food. And they protect the cows. And they plow the land. They get the real necessities of life. And they avoid contaminating the water, contaminating the earth, contaminating their minds. They avoid all those things because they know that's the secret for happiness. And then, when one becomes happy, then one thinks, well, I'm happy, but I'm going to die. I'm going to die happy. So that's nice to die happy. But they think, well, maybe I don't really want to die, so maybe there's a way out. So then they become inquisitive, jignasu. Because there are Brahmins in a society who are living a different life than simply trying to enjoy life. They're trying to seek liberation. They're the sages. And so they inquire from them what to do, how to organize my life, how to organize others' life, not for the sake of just getting material comfort, having a happy material life, but to actually get out of material life. So that's what the Brahman's message is. Enjoy life, but at the same time try to advance so you get out of material existence as a spiritual being. So then they come up to the platform of jnani, jignasu, knowledge. One is sacrificed for material possessions, the other is sacrificed for knowledge. And when they actually become like the four Kumaras, then they come to the platform of liberation from the material concept of life. The four Kumaras, when they went to Vaikuntha, they were still Brahmavadis. They didn't know, they had heard about Narayan, but they didn't know exactly who Narayan was, because they never met him. But still they were able to go to Vaikuntha by some reason. And then finally they met Narayan, and they were in ecstasy, just smelling the tulsi leaves and the sandalwood paste on his lotus feet. They became pure devotees of Narayan. So that's going from liberation as the four Kumaras to actually becoming a real devotee. Now, how many of us are qualified to go to Vaikuntha right now? Have anyone here been to Vaikuntha lately? How many gates did you pass? Well, I passed 6, but I couldn't get through the 7th. I knew I was a pretender, so they wouldn't let me in, although I forged a pass. No, to actually get to Vaikuntha like the four Kumaras is not an ordinary thing. And if you had a judge where the Kumaras were, they'd be kanistha adhikaris. Kanistha by attachment, but uttama adhikaris by eligibility for devotional service. They were the beginning stages of attachment because they hardly knew Narayan. They hadn't known Narayan, so they weren't really even on the stage of attachment. They were in the material. They were kanistha adhikaris. But by eligibility, because they were just on the verge of becoming pure, of coming to the platform of nishtha, of fixity in devotional service, therefore they were uttama adhikaris by eligibility for devotional service. So from that platform, then real devotional service begins, and then one comes to the stages from attachment onward to ruchi, asakti, bhava, and prema. Because one is actually conscious of Krishna. Consistently. I mean, sometimes we're conscious of Krishna. Of course, we see the deities. We're conscious of Krishna, hopefully. We don't think, what's his name again? The ones with his hands up. Someone stealing from him? Looks as his companions are also being held up. No, we know that this is the deity, this is Krishna, this is Lord Nityananda, this is Advaita Acharya, this is Gadadhar Pandit and Srivas Thakur. We know that this is Krishna and his associates. So that's Krishna consciousness. We may not feel it. It's not, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he entered into Jagannath Puri and he was running towards the deity, he fainted in ecstasy seeing Lord Jagannath. So most of us don't fall down unless we trip when we see the deities. If we fall down, it's usually not of ecstasy. But there's some experience of Krishna consciousness when we see the deities. We become conscious of Krishna. I mean, that's why the deities are so kind, because Krishna is manifested, and we're actually seeing Krishna. Not fully. We're like people with cataracts. We have cataracts. We see something's there, you know. But we don't quite see Krishna as he really is. But it's advancement. Eventually, by following the process, then we come to the platform of liberation, and then after that we start actually seeing Krishna as he really is. And we experience ruchi. Everything becomes Krishna, Krishna's energy. It's all the expansion of Krishna's energy. So we have a taste for everything after liberation. So devotional service, by the process of following the process of karma yoga, Shudra, Vaishya, Jnana yoga, Jignasu or Kshatriya, Brahmana. It's a very gradual process. It takes over many lifetimes usually. By the process of that, Krishna talks about karma yoga, or he talks about karma and jnana. But by bhakti yoga, we're actually experiencing the same thing. At first, people are in anxiety when they come to Krishna consciousness. They're just trying to get rid of their fears, their anxieties, their misconceptions, and after some time, then they just want a nice life. They become vegetarian. They realize they should learn a little pranayama because they haven't been breathing for most of their life. Get some air in their body. They filter their water, or they get water from Slovenia. something you can drink from the tap. And they realize that I should be nice to the devotees. It's not always possible, but I should. So they start becoming civilized. Vaishya is on the way for civilization. And when they see a cow, they don't think of McDonald's. They think of protecting it, getting some milk from it, even if they're vegan. And then after that, they become a little inquisitive. They even want to read the Bhagavad-gita when no one's looking. They still read it anyhow. They want to hear about Krishna. So they become a little inquisitive. What is this all about anyhow, this Krishna consciousness? Might as well read the book and find out. I've been in it for 20 years. And then after becoming Jignasu, they start actually understanding something. They become a jnani, and they can give a class. And then after that, then they actually start thinking about Krishna sometimes. Even when they're chanting japa, they even think about Krishna. Wow. Hare Krishna, that's Krishna. Wow, that's amazing. And then after some time, real devotional service begins. So Krishna advises, we go through that process, chant Hare Krishna, follow those 5 powerful processes, and then gradually our anxieties will go away. Gradually we'll actually learn how to control our senses, and we'll understand what real happiness we should strive for, and what should we look for in our lives to cause us real happiness. And then we become inquisitive. What is the higher stages of consciousness, of experience in Krishna consciousness? And then we learn about it and practice it and experience it, and then we actually live it. It becomes part of our existence, Krishna consciousness. So it's a natural process. By performing devotional service, we may not experience it now, but we should get little tastes here and there to encourage us along the path, so that we keep on the path of devotional service and not get deviated to some other path. then gradually success will be there. Krishna says, Vita raga vaya krodha manmana bhava. Vita raga vaya krodha manmaya mamupashitya bhava jnana tapasa puttamadbhavam agata. Being freed from attachment and from fear and anger. So this is lust, anger, and greed, etc. Being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge about me, and that's all they obtained transcendental love from me. So this hearing and chanting about Krishna will not go in vain as we develop the knowledge of the process. Then the result is, as we develop the awareness, then we'll develop love, we'll become purified and develop love for Krishna. And many, many persons in the past became purified if we don't know who they are because they're back in the spiritual world already. So there's a big list somewhere, but I don't have it. You'll have to ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has it. All the people who went back to Godhead, as in one morning walk, they were telling Prabhupada, some people say that no one has ever seen God. So Prabhupada's reply was, you mean you don't know anyone who's ever seen God, right? Have you talked to everyone? Can you make a statement definitely that no one has ever seen God? Does that mean you've asked everyone? Have you seen God? Have you seen God? No. I guess no one has ever seen God. So Prabhupada saw Krishna at every moment. And we can do that also. That's what we're supposed to do. That's our normal state. Not that the normal state of a human being is to be in the hospital. Well, luckily we're in the hospital, so we might get cured. And this is a naturopathic hospital. It's not a allopathic one. So we're lucky to be in the hospital and get cured. As Prabhupada said in the beginning, we're just learning to walk, and sometimes we fall down. But if a baby falls down, then no one complains. He's 6 months old and he fell down. Oh boy, that's not my kid. My kid doesn't fall down. Erase that picture, don't put it on the internet. It's embarrassing. No, he falls down, you expect, and he gets up, and you know eventually he'll start walking. Of course, if he's 75 years old and he never learned to walk, you have a problem. But generally speaking, the child will start walking after some time. And then after walking, he'll learn how to dance, and then how to dance in ecstasy. So it's the process we're going through. Just have to have a little patience, conviction, and develop our enthusiasm for it. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thank you for the last one. I have a question relating to the part that we come to the temple and see the deities, and eventually we're conscious about them. There is a saying by Srila Bhagavad-gita 5.2. Once he went and people got up the glasses, so they wanted to bring him, so he said, I'm not coming to see the deities, but I'm coming that deity sees me. Can you comment on this?
Well, hopefully the deities will be able to see you. I'm not coming to see the deity. I don't know. I think sometimes things are taken out of context.
This is what I'm asking.
I mean, I don't know either, but I mean, if you weren't coming to see the deities, you might as well put on dark glasses. Go there. Of course we were coming to see the deities. Could you imagine the pujari, he goes into the altar, he puts on blindfold. He doesn't want to see the deities. Krishna, Jagannath Swami and I, no, Apartiyama, don't appear before me, spoil my devotional service. Oh, of course we want to see the deity, externally and internally. Otherwise, Dhruva Maharaj was meditating for 6 months, was meditating his last month, and he saw Krishna in the heart, And suddenly his meditation broke, and he saw Krishna in front of him as Prishnigarbha Vishnu. And he said, wait a second, I don't want to see you. Can you disappear? I mean, you can see me for a few minutes, you know. No, of course we want to see Krishna.
Yeah, most probably his idea was that through devotional activities, Krishna to see us. This was his actual accent, maybe.
Oh, I don't know what this is. It means, if he did say it, it meant something, but it's in a context. It's not that we're going there to enjoy seeing the deities, at least in the platform further advancement. We want the deities to see to see us as devotees. It's not just, he's not just a statue that we're coming to observe. It's not like a sightseeing tour. Although that's all right too. I mean, that's why we want the deities to be nicely decorated, so that even ordinary people will come and they'll appreciate this is beautiful. And then they make spiritual advancement that way. Otherwise, why do Prabhupada want us to have such a nice standard? We just dress the deities in rags. People come, hey, they're dressed in rags. No, it's not right. At least he's seeing you. That's what counts. Anything else? Hvala, spasiba, gracias. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
He's calling the Prahladananda Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.